This is a setup video for Lab 5 on circuits. So these are all the materials you'll need for this. Again, you're going to be using the 2 AA battery pack. You'll be using the breadboard again. You'll also be using the tube with the magnets in it. Some jumper wires. These jumper wires again. You'll be using the spool of magnet wire. You probably want to be using some of the conductive tape again. You'll need some sandpaper again. And then this time you're going to be using these 2 resistors. So there's a little bag that came with the 2 resistors in them. And then you're also going to be using a blue LED and a red LED. And then there's also a little switch. And then this guy here is a capacitor. And then if you do the final part, the bonus part, you'll need 4 of these diodes. Okay, so you're just going to be doing a lot of fiddling around, trying and see what happens with certain things. So there's lots of pictures and diagrams in the instructions document. And it's important to look at those closely so you can see exactly where everything is put in if you're having trouble getting it set up on your own. Also at the end of the document there's schematic diagrams also with exactly where I plugged everything into the breadboard. So if you remember, the breadboard has certain ports in it, like we have row 1 up top, and then there's port 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, so that's what all those refer to. And so the resistors, they probably came nice and straight like that, but you can bend them as you need to in order to plug them in to wherever you're going to plug them into. And the one thing to note with the LEDs is that they have one long end and one short end, and so this is going to be important because the LEDs are a type of diode. It's called LED for light emitting diode, and they only allow the current to flow in one direction. And so the longer lead is the positive one. Okay, so when you plug that in, you can bend this as you need to in order to fit into the ports. And so the one that's positive, when you go to supply some power to that, you're going to want to make sure that the positive end of the battery pack, which is the red wire, is going toward that positive lead. So you'll see how I show you where I plug everything in on the breadboard in the pictures, exactly what, and you'll try reversing it too to see the effect that has. Alright, and I show you this in the document, but the capacitor also has a positive and negative end, which if you plug it in the opposite way, nothing's going to happen. And so you see here on the side, there's this sort of grayish stripe here, and that's going up to this prong. So that's indicating to you that's the negative lead there. All right, so the positive one doesn't have that stripe there. So that's how you can tell with that. Now, in the final part, you're going to end up having to use the red LED. Okay, and I won't go into that too much, but the red LED actually requires less energy to light up than the blue one. So it'll make it easier to see the LED light up. All right, and so what you're going to do is the tube with the magnets in it, you're going to make a coil around it with the magnet wire, and you could probably just put it kind of in the middle there if you want. Doesn't really matter exactly where it is, but I'm going to put it right in the middle. And you're going to want to make a coil with about 300 turns. So I know that sounds a lot, but it goes by pretty quickly once you get moving, and It'd probably just take a couple 3 minutes maybe to do that. So make sure while you're doing that, you leave a few inches of leads on the end so that you can sand off and be able to plug that into the breadboard. Alright, so I got about 300 turns on there. So make sure you get 300 if you get tired and you give up and say, oh, 150 or 200 should do it. It probably will not be enough turns to get the LED to light up. So just a fair warning so you don't have to go through this a second time. So again, all you got to do is just break the wire there, and then again, like you did in the previous lab, you just sand these guys off, and after you sand them off, again, it's a good idea. It's gonna be really helpful if you just twist them onto the jumper wires. Use some of the electrical tape again to get those to stay on there. That way it'll make it nice and easy when you go to plug these into the breadboard and hook it up with the LED. And then after that, step 1 of the final part 5 there, the last 3 steps, 2, 3, and 4, those are optional. Just a little bit of interesting to see how these things are going to work with LEDs and how we can really function more efficiently with them. All right, so that's it for Lab 5.